Welcome, everybody, to the Dynasty 365 show here at Fantasy and Frames. I am your host, Stacy Perez. Tonight, we have got our Fantasy and Frames CEO, Mr. Jorge Edwards, here with us. We've got Tyler Hiles in the house as well. Guys, we are doing a check-in after 5 weeks of the NFL season, seeing how our early Rookie of the Year candidates are doing. Let's do it. What's up, everybody? How is your day going? Jorge, you had some good news today.
Yeah, so for those who are unaware, I had a little bit of a knee injury that's going to be putting me out of commission for walking until around the holiday season in December. But I had my first physical therapy appointment today. Went well, knocked it out of the park. So things are starting to look up. Thank you for bringing that up. Appreciate it.
Tyler, how's your day going?
Oh, pretty good. I've been driving all over the frickin' place today. I had to drive to Virginia today, just for work. But overall, pretty good. I've been decorating the house for Halloween. I made my very own homemade decorations, so that's pretty fun.
Nice. You guys both have like warm clothes on, it looks like, and I'm so jealous because you guys actually have fall, and I have like 98% humidity outside right now.
Stacy, I feel for you. I just came from it last year, obviously. I moved up here earlier this year to North Carolina, and I sat on my porch on Saturday morning and had my coffee with a hoodie and slippers on because it was like 50 degrees. It was fantastic.
Oh my God, I'm so jealous. It's like in mid 80s here, and I just went outside because it rained, and it just like a sauna. It just like punches you right in the face when you walk out the door. It's gross.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but hey, you got another month and a half.
Yeah,
and it'll be relatively not terrible.
Yeah. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Gator J, we see you in the chat over there. Good evening to you. I'm glad you were joining us here because we apparently, Gator and I, don't have a baseball game to watch. That game ended pretty early for our Bravos. Who knows? Maybe they can come back. But I'm glad you're here, Gator, suffering with me.
9-2.
Yeah, 9-2. Oh, good. 9-2. 9-2. Okay, great. Anyway, even more glad to be here with you guys talking football. Thank God for football season to distract me from the horrors of the MLB postseason. Guys, before we get started into our Rookie of the Year chat, I want to talk about some stuff that's been going on this week because like injury news. Because like, do you guys feel, and I don't know if it's just me or not, do you feel like it's been like worse than ever this year? Or have we just like forgotten like how many injuries there usually are this early?
We've probably forgotten.
It feels bad though, right?
Do you think different, Jorge?
I feel like IR has just, ever since they made the changes that, if you're placed on IR, you're out at least 4 games, but then you have the ability to come back. I feel like that designation has just been thrown around so liberally. You go on IR and you go on IR, you miss 4 games and you miss 4 games. And it's like, what happened to when it's like you're gone for the entire year? You know what I mean? It's like, how many of these players, 5 years ago would have battled it out versus having to go on IR? But then again, you start thinking about the investment that these organizations are making in the multi-millions of dollars for players. I mean, I guess it makes sense that they're shortened IR to just 4 weeks minimum. But it's been like a rapid gut punch nonstop this week, especially on Monday with all the news that came out and news that's still coming out today.
Yeah, it's like every week something horrible just gets, released about somebody who's going to be on IR or out for the year. Hello to Albert and Preston. We see you guys in the chat. Guys, everybody in the chat, remember, if you have questions for us tonight, comments, please make sure to throw those in there and we will get to them. All right, so speaking of injuries, I want you guys to tell me somebody who has or that you think might have the most impact to fantasy teams, like they're being either injured on the IR or out for the season. Pick your poison there with that. But Jorge, you're up first.
So I want to say Justin Jefferson just because that's the biggest name, right? Well, one of the biggest names in terms of being the entire offense for their team. But let me do something different, and that is Amon-Ra. If he keeps missing some games, we saw Josh Reynolds step up in a big way last week, as well as Laporta, and the entire Lions offense just was clicking. But it makes you wonder, is Josh Reynolds somebody that is consistently going to be able to put up those numbers, have those type of performances, or was it just more matchup based? That's a little bit of a concern, and how much of that will impact the Lions offense as a whole. Jahmyr Gibbs hasn't been utilized as a receiving option worth a damn this year. And it doesn't look like, based off of Dan Campbell's press conference today, that that's going to be changing anytime soon. So it's, I don't know. I'm going to go Amon-Ra, but I think you two have somewhere that is probably a lot more pivotal than that.
I picked the low-hanging fruit with Justin Jefferson, so we'll get to that in a second. But Tyler, who's your pick?
Yeah, I mean, my preface was Justin Jefferson is the right answer here. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about Anthony Richardson and his injury. It's not going to be the most effective injury, like for fantasy managers. It's going to suck for, obviously, the Anthony Richardson managers because Richardson kept climbing and climbing and climbing up draft boards earlier in August preseason, and people were spending 4th, 5th, 6th round picks on him, and it sucks to lose a quarterback that you spent a 4th, 5th, 6th round pick. However, I don't think it's going to have a very large effect on the Colts offense as a whole for fantasy output. Gardner Minshew has played very well. They basically had a 50-50 split, and these receivers have been effective. At least Michael Pittman has been effective. Minshew's thrown 83 attempts this year. Richardson's thrown 84. So, it's a dead even split. So I'm not overly worried about the Colts receivers. In fact, I'm a little more bullish on Josh Downs now that Gardner Minshew is going to be starting more often. Or not more often, he is going to be starting. Listening to people that are smarter than me, Dr. David Chow, Pro Football Doc, he's talking about maybe a short-term IR stint for Anthony Richardson, which is 4 weeks. Adam Schefter, he was placed on the IR, by the way. So he is out at least 4 weeks. Adam Schefter tweeted out today it could be 4 to 8 weeks. I'm going to go ahead and listen to Dr. David Chow. So looking at their schedule, it looks like a November 26th potential return for Anthony Richardson. They have 5 more games and then a bye week. So that it kind of makes sense, but that's week 12. That's the start of the playoffs. You're out Anthony Richardson until the fantasy playoffs. So that hurts. This does actually give a bump to Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss, though, whoever is their starting running back, because Anthony Richardson was taking all of the goal line carries and stealing all of the rushing touchdowns. So it gives them that little bump. But overall, it sucks. You never want to see an exciting player like that go out, especially someone that's done so well for your fantasy team.
Yeah. So Gator put in the chat, same injury as Derek Carr. Probably Richardson's is probably a little worse than Derek Carr's. It's not the same.
It's the same, but it's not the same. Okay. It's like saying how I sprained my ankle in January, but I had a full tendon tear and it still fucks with me sorry, Jorge. It still messes with me for today.
My mom. That's all you have to
say. Derek Carr had a AC joint sprain. So like grade 1. This is grade 3. That's why Anthony Richardson was placed on IR and Derek Carr played through the pain for 1 week and sucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were concerned about like a torn labrum with Anthony Richardson, which would have knocked him out for the entire year. So consider, I don't want to say consider yourselves lucky, but it could have been worse. And it makes you wonder if he comes back, do they want him to come back? Do they risk tearing that muscle or tendon, I think it is, right? And then he's gone for an extended period of time heading into next year.
Yeah, sure. Gator has a question for us real quick. So Judy Stroud and a 224 first. Is that right? 224 first or Cup and Waddle. So right now the first looks to be an early one. Okay. So this is not a super flex. This is in a 1 quarterback PPR league. Jorge, what should he do? This isn't against either one of us, right? Gator.
I'm checking.
Frames. Cup's getting older. Waddle's there. Give me a potential Marvin Harrison pick, or I would say Caleb Williams, but I like CJ Stroud. So yeah, I would do that. And if anything, I could probably move Judy depending on how he finishes the season, or potentially move Stroud. If I had back-to-back first-round picks and go Caleb and go Marvin Harrison with my first 2 picks, if that's how it ended up playing out. Yeah, but I would always take the first-round picks over depreciating value, even if it is Cooper Kupp and him being an elite wide receiver. Waddle, is a number 2, and that's how he's going to be. He's going to be a number 2 to Tyreek Hill, whereas you have the opportunity to get a number 1 or a couple number 1s with your first-round picks.
Love it. Tyler, any other different thoughts?
No, I think I pretty much agree with Jorge there. I mean, I'm basically not looking at Stroud in that trade. No offense to CJ Stroud, but it's a 1 QB league. They're just very devalued to me in that format. So Judy or 224 firsts for Kupp and Waddle. I mean, if you really think you're contending, I might just roll with Kupp and Waddle and go for it and try to take Judy out of that trade and see what happens. But yeah, the picks and Stroud and Judy side just has more value.
CJ Stroud, famously still no interceptions.
How about that?
How about that? All right, so Malcolm wants to know, would we pick anybody in the Cardinals backfield? Malcolm, my brain was on baseball at the moment when I saw that question, and I was like, Cardinals backfield? What?
What is that?
But you meant
like
Arizona,
the catcher?
not St. Louis. Yeah.
Not their catcher?
No, we're not taking I don't even know who their catcher is now. I know it used to be Yadier Molina. I don't know. Where's Nate? Where's Nate with the Cardinals?
Pudge?
That's like
wow, it's taking it
30
back
years ago.
long. That is a long time ago, my friend.
I was like, what? Pudge? No. All right. So Malcolm wants to know, are we picking up anybody in the Cardinals backfield? Well, I can tell you, I put down a lot of money on DeMercado. I can't say his name. DeMercado.
Mari DeMercado.
Mari DeMercado. See, you just came from Italy. Say it Italian.
Yeah, because he's Italian.
Yeah.
I said it Italian. Imari DeMercado.
Yeah, it was just fun the way you said it, and I like that. And I was like, that's how we're gonna say his name from now on. I put some fab down on him today, but I think Jorge, you're gonna talk about him in a little bit though. I think, right?
Yeah, I am. So maybe this is a little of a tease that we will talk about him a little bit later, Malcolm. So stay glued to the show.
Yeah, Malcolm, you have to stay on now if you want to hear the full answer to your question. What's up, Mr. Scampers? We see you over there in the chat. We see Jamie too, having a good night there. Jamie, we got your Tyler's got your jerseys hanging in the background over there.
I keep forgetting to change them. I just got a new Trevor Lawrence and Chris Olave jersey.
Oh, you can't trade out Peyton and Gary Barnage. Come on now.
Yeah, not Bartkowski. Come on, man. You can't get rid of him. The legend of 2016, was it? Or whatever.
Don't worry. I think the next jersey I'm getting is a Raiders Derek Carr jersey.
Wow.
Okay.
Derek Carr for life. All right. You can back off and go piss up a rope if you're not a Derek Carr fan.
Oh my goodness, that was aggressive. All right, Mr. Scampers wants to know. He's got a half PPR. His RB2 is a mess. I feel you, Mr. Scampers. He's got Gus Bust. He's got Samaje Perine. The new fancy running back that we all picked up last week, Jaleel McLaughlin. He wants to know, does he trade away Jameson Williams for Raheem the Dream Mostert?
Is this a redraft question or a dynasty question? Because if it's dynasty, no.
Yeah, Mr. Scampers, can you elaborate, please, for us in the chat? I'm going to talk about Mostert a little bit later. So if that's a redraft thing, I might do that to grab some of Mostert, especially given a chance. Oh, it's dynasty. Okay. All right, Tyler, go ahead.
I'm rolling with trying to figure it out between Perine and Jaleel McLaughlin, and I'm not ready to pitch Jamison Williams over the side of the boat for a 31-year-old running back.
Yeah, that's fair. Jorge, what do you think?
Yeah, we saw a somewhat productive game out of McLaughlin in the receiving game. It's a flip of a coin with Justice Hill or Gus Edwards. P. Ryan kind of came to life last week, but it was really the McLaughlin game. You know what? I agree with Tyler. The 31-year-old running back with hamstring issues. Give me the 22-year-old wide receiver with hamstring issues, and hope that he turns that around.
Issues.
Oh, my bad. Gambling issue. I knew there were some issues.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, maybe he does have a hamstring issue that we don't know about. Just something like everybody else apparently has a hamstring issue. Jamie, oh, sorry, Jorge.
No, I just saw this question or this comment in the chat, and I had to put it up here because
Jamie wants to know if I got my crystal ball fixed because the Darnell Washington Steeler. Okay, I was like, wait a minute, hang on, merge the Commanders and the Steelers there. Darnell Washington got 0 catches last week. He did, and I was really disappointed about that. I still believe he's going to get a touchdown before the end of the season. But I think that just has to do with their terrible offense and not any lack of talent in Mr. Washington's giant 11-inch hands.
Stacy, we're gonna have a come to Jesus moment for you and Darnell Washington, like I wish someone would have for me and Duke Johnson 6 years ago.
He's just too busy pancaking people on the line. Have you guys watched highlights of him doing that? Because he is excelling in that regard.
Do you get fantasy points for that?
No, you don't. You most certainly do not. So that's why we don't roster him on any of our teams, but we can still be fans of somebody's talent. Preston wants to know, he lost Achane for a stretch. He's got Judy or Dotson to decide if they're going to go in his lineup this week. Why are they not feeding Dotson? Jorge, this is directly for you. You need to answer for the Washington Commanders. Why are they not feeding Jahan, as Bill likes to say, Dotson?
Yeah, I prefer Jahan. I feel like that's the only way to pronounce that. That's a great question. Up until I think last week or the week before, him and McLaurin were pretty comparably targeted. It's one of those things. I think it's a Sam Howell situation. I think he's just going for the first open person he can find, not really trusting Dotson. I need to look at Dotson's separation against other cornerbacks to see if he is getting good separation there, and maybe that's why Dotson has not been emphasized more in the receiving game. Do I like him versus Atlanta this week? I don't know. I like Judy and his average depth of target. I thought last week they were targeting him more downfield. But man, this is a tough situation. My heart says Dotson, but my brain is saying Judy if I had to pick one or the other.
Oh, yeah, I have a lot of Jahan Dotson, and it is not a good feeling right now. Dynasty Devant, that was uncalled for. The only highlights that Darnell Washington has. That's just rude. Malcolm, he wants to get a head start on his bye week with quarterbacks down the line. On his bye week quarterback down the line, sorry. He's got Josh Allen, but CJ Stroud and Baker Mayfield are both available. Does he go ahead and pick one up of them, and who does he pick? I know what my answer is. Tyler, what's your answer?
I'm trying to. Do the Bills have a week 13 bye?
They do. It's really gross. Them and oh my gosh, is it who else has one? There's another fantasy relevant team that's got a week 13 bye that's really upsetting.
Yikes. No, don't do that. You're burning a roster spot for over a month. Pick up some currently valueless running back. Grab a Keontae Ingram. Grab a Kareem Hunt that's sitting on the waiver wire on Sundays before games start and see what happens. I would rather burn that roster spot on a potential lottery ticket than sit on a backup quarterback for a month and a half. You're just not getting any value there because it's a bye week. You're never going to play them over Josh Allen. I mean, if Josh Allen gets injured, you're kind of screwed anyway. Just pick up whoever's on the waiver wire. Don't burn a roster spot on a backup quarterback right now.
I would want to know what the other teams in the league look like. Does anybody else have any quarterback injuries? Like, could you scoop up one of these two just to kind of like prevent other teams from getting them? Because I guess my worry would be waiting till like week 13. Like, what's going to be left at that point? Because CJ Stroud, I mean,
he's like QB 10 or something right
yeah.
now.
Yeah. I mean, you're definitely not starting him over Josh Allen, but I mean, gosh, I mean, do you want to get stuck with somebody like
Baker Mayfield?
Thank you. I mean, yeah, I mean, Baker's not even that terrible, but yeah, I mean, the alternative though, like, yeah, getting stuck with maybe a Baker.
So I had a somewhat similar situation this week. I was sitting on CJ Stroud until Sunday, and I had Anthony Richardson, and I dropped CJ Stroud on Sunday because I just didn't want anyone to pick him up before the game, so I waited. I lose Anthony Richardson. Someone waivers CJ Stroud because I didn't put a waiver claim in on him because I'm not burning my waiver position on a quarterback, and I'm just gonna roll with Sam Howell, whatever.
You can't go get Gardner?
I could, but I chose Sam Howell.
Good choice.
Dash Mania.
Oh my God, I forgot to buy a Powerball ticket. Sorry, that was random.
Come on. Mr. Scamber's coming in clutch over here with the Bills, Ravens, Vikings, Raiders, and Bears and Giants with a bye week 13. It's really rude. I have a conspiracy theory that whoever handles the NFL schedule like hates fantasy football. Like, I think that like maybe they just like had a really bad fantasy experience and like got like crushed to like their soul maybe at some point in their life, and has decided that they're going to take that out on fantasy managers just, all over by scheduling all these people to have a week 13 bye.
According to NFL propaganda, it's Amazon Web Services AI that does the schedule now.
Okay, well then whoever handles that person or that at Amazon, and you're just giving a big middle finger to all of us in fantasy over that.
It's called Skynet. Unlike Terminator, you take fantasy football world.
That's what's gonna happen. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Okay. So first thing, real quick. So I'm gonna tackle that low hanging fruit that I talked about earlier with Justin Jefferson having a big impact, that injury. It's Bob Harris. What's up, Bob Harris? We see you in the chat. All right. So Justin Jefferson, right? He's on the IR. So at least 4 games are being missed. Week 5. What did he do week 5? Do you guys know? Do you know how many points that he put up if you're in a full PPR league? Just off the top of your head, look at the show sheet, Tyler. I see you looking over there.
It definitely wasn't 5.8, right?
Yeah, it totally was 5.8. 5.8 if you were lucky enough to be in a full PPR. Okay. So that's a wash. So already 1 game where he's not helping you. Okay. And then he's going to miss 4 more. So that's weeks 6 through 9 if he's only out for 4 games. If they tank during that, not tank, but if they just like totally bomb during that time, what are the odds of him even coming back? If they are so far down, haven't won any games, that kind of thing, just doing so poorly. I think who knows what happens, but there definitely is, that concern to have. But even without that, right? The Vikings have that late bye, week 13, we just talked about. Okay, so now we're talking 5 games. He's out of your lineup. So you drafted him at the 101. And now he's going to miss this much time, and nobody that you're getting off waivers even comes close to that production. So that's why I picked Justin Jefferson. Just you're taking him, like I said, at the 101. He's going to miss at least 5 games, and they come at critical times when you're trying to, make sure that your team is, good enough to make those fantasy playoffs. So that's my bid for Justin Jefferson.
And it hurts Kirk Cousins too. It hurts Alexander Madison.
Yeah. You know who it doesn't hurt though?
Cam Akers.
Jordan Addison.
It does not hurt Jordan Addison or KJ Osborne. That is for sure.
No. We're going to talk about them in a minute though. All right. So going into our first topic, guys, we are headed into week 6, as you know, and we have seen a lot of impressive stats from our rookies. So I want to take us back and go back to that show that we had early September, the week the season started. That Wednesday, we talked about some potential candidates for Offensive Rookie of the Year. I want us to circle back and see how our predictions came out, and see if there's potentially maybe anybody new to throw in the chat. So Tyler, you're up. Go ahead and if you want to take your victory lap and come back on Puka, or you can just tell us how great he is right now.
Yeah, I'm going to give you crap about this, Stacy, until the Offensive Rookie of the Year award is handed out at the end of the season, because you did not put the $20 on Puka as Offensive Rookie of the Year as I asked you to. So thanks a lot for that. But yeah, I mean, Puka, he wasn't my number one pick for Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think we all said, yeah, it's going to be Bijan, whatever. But he was my favorite long shot. He had good odds. I liked his talent. He was good BYU. He just had trouble staying on the field. And when Cooper Kupp went out, it gave him all of the opportunity in the world, and he's crushing it. I just for funsies, I checked his season-long pace through 5 games, and it's obscene. If he kept on this pace through all 17 games, he would finish the season with 214 targets, 156 receptions, 1,941 receiving yards, and 7 touchdowns.
Oh my gosh.
And then I said 70% of that would be 109 for 1359 and 5. And that's less than Justin Jefferson had in his rookie year, and he still didn't win the award. So it's a great story. I think he's got a shot at it, but end all be all, I don't think Puka wins it. I think the favorites right now are Bijan Robinson and CJ Stroud. But yeah, I definitely picked Puka as my favorite long shot, and I feel really good about that right now.
As you should. I'm trying to pull up. Did we have numbers about like what the odds were at the time that we did this?
Puka, I know, was plus 15,000.
Okay. Do you know what he is right now? I just pulled up DraftKings.
I do not.
Plus 350.
Yeah. Who are the top odds? Bijan or CJ Stroud?
CJ Stroud plus 120. And then Puka and Bijan are both tied for 350. And then it's a pretty huge drop off with Addison, Zay Flowers at 2,000, Achane Laporta at 25 and 2,800. And then it just kind of goes down from there.
Poor Bryce Young.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Poor little Bryce Young.
Poor tiny little Bryce Young.
This is like a little bit of a sidetrack over here. Do you guys watch the Gridiron stuff on TikTok with like the cartoons that they make of like
Gridiron Heights?
Yeah, Gridiron Heights. Do you guys watch that? That's hysterical. They have one that I saw, I think just like this week, of they're saying Bryce Young and about how the other like rookie quarterbacks were bullying him. And and they have in the background, it's like they're in a little house together. In the background on the wall, it has like a height chart, and it has like Anthony, and then it has like CJ, and then it has like way down below it says like Bryce.
Oh, poor guy.
I highly recommend you looking that up on TikTok if you haven't watched it already. Also, whenever they talk about Anthony Richardson, they give him a baby voice, and I don't know why, but it just makes me laugh so much because it cuts to him and he goes, Anthony Richardson, and it's just really funny. So go look that up. It's fantastic. Jorge, who is your rookie that you want to talk about?
So, Tyler, you mentioned Puka Nacua. You look back last week versus Philadelphia. I think he had one less target than Cooper Kupp. But here's the thing. We saw him dominate the target share for the Rams before Cooper Kupp got back. Is that, even draw and targets going to stay consistent throughout the rest of the season? You kind of saw at a certain point, Stafford just kind of lock into Kupp and just go to him early and often in the second quarter and in the third quarter of the game on Sunday. So you're kind of like walking into a situation in Los Angeles where the target share is probably going to go down considerably. Conversely, Jordan Addison now, he's walking into a situation where he's walking into a lot of targets. He redeemed himself from his bagel a couple weeks ago with 9 targets on the day versus the Chiefs for 15.4 fantasy points and half PPR. Look, I understand people recommending KJ Osborne, and yes, he definitely has shown the ability to have those boomer bust weeks. But for consistency, the Vikings drafted Jordan Addison to play that Adam Thielen role, which is more of a possession wide receiver. And you kind of saw that on Sunday versus the Chiefs. Let's not forget, and you guys mentioned it earlier, Jefferson is vacating, 26% target share. That's a lot of targets that they're just up for grabs. And you look at the consistency when the Vikings have been trailing in games. Addison has been the second highest targeted wide receiver on the team, ahead of KJ Osborne. So I get it. I get the Puka love. I get the Bijan love. But Bijan, he has Algier to compete with attempts if they actually decide to give Algier the ball again. There is the potential for competition of targets. You mentioned it earlier, Stacy. We don't know if Justin Jefferson's coming back. I think he will come back if he wants that monster contract. But there's a chance that he might not, especially if they do. Well, there's a number of reasons why he may not come back. But to that regard, if they're trailing, and like I said, second highest targeted wide receiver on the team ahead of KJ Osborne, and no Justin Jefferson standing in the way, we're talking about like crazy volume on a pass-heavy team. So as quickly as Puka Nacua rose up, the ranks, and now he has the potential to drop down. Now we're seeing kind of like a baseline for Jordan Addison, and now he has the potential to really go sky high. So, you said what was the odds for Jordan Addison? You said it was a considerable drop off after Stroud.
2 seconds. Yeah, it's 2,000 plus 2,000.
Give me 4 weeks, and I could see that getting a little bit closer. Now I do have a question for you though. When we're talking rookie of the year here, are we thinking about it from like fantasy rookie of the year? Or are we talking about like actual NFL rookie of the year? And can we like divvy it up into like 2 different categories, I guess?
I think we can, because you were not with us on the show when we did this. I think we could probably divvy it up into 2 different things. I mean, Tyler, do you remember, like, were we talking about fantasy or just rookie of the year in general?
I think we were talking in general just because you were in Vegas. It was kind of a Vegas themed episode, and we were talking about, and we were looking at odds for the awards.
Well, it's pretty cool, like, the season to see which rookies ended up performing the best at the various scoring settings, and just, Yeah.
I mean, if we're talking fantasy here, I think it's Puka Nacua hands down. I mean, this is a guy who was undrafted pretty much, who was coming off waivers, that's performing as a top 5 or 6 wide receiver. Like, you have to factor in draft position as well as performance. And Puka Nacua is just absolutely blowing everyone else out of the water because Bijan was a first-round pick.
Mm-hmm. Oh, love the new koozie. Thanks, Skater. This is my little Yeti here with my fantasy and frame. You can find on our website at our merch store. And this actually is not a koozie. I just put it here just to hide my wine so I can drink my sorrows away and not have anybody judge how much I'm drinking. But Will has a question for us. Will wants to know Kamara for James Cook, Ayuk, and Zay Flowers, or Kamara for Ridley, Aaron Jones, Christian Watson. I like the first one. I think you got to smash on that James Cook, Ayuk, Zay Flowers. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, that's not close for me.
Yep, hands down.
Cook, Ayuk, Flowers.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. Will, go get that trade done right now before somebody changes their mind. Gator says that his trade went through. Thanks for the trade advice. The league is very upset, which is what we always want them to do. Good. They shouldn't have offered you such an amazing trade then. So glad we could help, Gator. All right. So my rookie of the year is actually one that the one and only Mr. Bill Mustafa kind of turned me on to. That would be Mr. Sam Laporta. And shout out to Bill for being, I feel like, is the first one who was all about Sam Laporta, at least the first one that I was hearing talk about him. So Sam Laporta doing his best out there to make a case for being the first tight end rookie of the year since 1967. Obviously, he is a super long shot, plus 2,500 to win on DraftKings as of today. He has averaged 14.4 fantasy points per game in a full PPR league, which is the most among tight ends who have played in all 5 games. And I make that distinction because Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews have both only played in 4, but they do outscore him by just a bit if you're looking at total fantasy points per game. If you're putting his numbers also into a little bit of perspective here, he's top 15 out of all tight ends and wide receivers. So not just the tight ends, but tight ends and receivers in reception percentage, which is 80.6 for Mr. Laporta. He is second on the Lions in both targets and receptions, only behind our beloved sun god. According to a friend of the pod, Heath Cummings from CBS, Laporta is putting up numbers that haven't been seen at his position since Mike Ditka. Okay, a little flashback there. Laporta is, I mean, for me, like he's a must start for the rest of the season. Like I don't think there's any reason you take him out of your lineup unless it's their bye week. So Sam Laporta for me. And then last but not least, I want to do a shout out to our Dynasty deviant, Chris Burns, who cannot join us tonight. But I think Chris's crystal ball might be the most intact out of all of us because his picks have all blown up in a huge way. He got Achane right, Flowers, Laporta, Stroud. I was back looking through our show sheet from the last time we did this, and like almost all of his picks have hit and become, huge fantasy and regular NFL stars. So way to go, Chris, if you're still listening. All right, guys. So I don't see any more questions in the chat, but if you guys do have questions for us, make sure to throw those in there, whether it's trade questions, dynasty questions, whatever you got for us, put it on in there. Appreciate everybody who is in the chat and watching right now. Guys, I just want to kind of go back to the injuries a little bit, and I want to talk about ones that, like, as far as dynasty wise, like, let's talk about somebody who has gotten hurt and how it has like maybe shifted their dynasty outlook, because of that injury. So, yep, who you, Dynasty Deviant? I see you in there. So, actually, look, Richard, I almost called you Ricardo. I almost changed your name. Richard has a question for us. Let's do that real quick.
Vaguely racist.
No, what? My last name is correct, okay? Oh, absolutely not.
Because his last name's Hernandez, you want to call him Ricardo?
No, I mean,
that's not a stretch. Jorge Edwards, that's a weird combination right there. Okay, but it's confusing.
You Jorge Eduardo.
Jorge Eduardo, yeah.
You know that some middle name is Benjamin, so people call me Jorge Ben Hameen in my family. Ben Hameen for Benjamin.
Yeah.
I've also called him Yorga for Eastern European as opposed to Jorge. So
okay.
Okay. Back to Richard.
So Richard wants to know, he has a full PPR. He can only keep 3 running backs. He needs to drop one now because Jonathan Taylor is back. Who does he drop? James Cook, David Montgomery, DeAndre Swift, or does he drop Jonathan Taylor? Oh, this is a conundrum. Oh.
I'm assuming this is this Dynasty, Richard? Can you put that in the chat? Or is this a redraft question? Because both kind of, I actually don't think it's that hard of a answer, regardless of format. I'd say you drop James Cook and roll with Montgomery, Swift, and Taylor. I just like Swift's situation. I know there are people who, rightfully so, are concerned with his durability over the past, course of his career. But he's just in a good situation in Philadelphia behind one of the best offensive lines. Montgomery has been playing lights out. Dan Campbell today came out and spoke very highly of him, and Jonathan Taylor is Jonathan Taylor. In the meantime, James Cook, you worry about red zone touches or end zone touches being taken away by Josh Allen. So yeah, it's Cook for me.
This is like picking amongst your favorite children. This is difficult. I like Mr. Scampers though. Says in the chat that he just renamed him Ricardo DiMercado. Richard, if you wanted to change your name, Mr. Scampers just gave you an excellent one to change it to. Tyler, Dynasty? Ooh.
That's what Ricardo said.
Or Richard, as we're both. Now, you both are. And that's no, exactly.
Ricardo DiMercado. Sorry. Ricardo DiMercado. This is just an odd rule. Oh man, that changes it a little bit, I think. Jesus. maybe DeAndre Swift. I don't know. DeAndre Swift has an injury history. He has a history of not being all that great for fantasy unless he's behind one of the best offensive lines in the league.
Yeah, but look, you take Jonathan Taylor and put him behind a horrible offensive line. Is he still Jonathan Taylor, or is he just John or Johnny? You know what I mean?
Ooh,
Juan.
I like that. Johnny Taylor.
Juan Taylor.
We should call him
or is he Juan Taylor?
Juan Taylor.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love it. So Swift for you, you're dropping Taylor?
I think it doesn't feel good, but yeah, I think.
What about you, Stacy?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think I want to go Swift just because of that injury history. I like Chris's Dynasty Deviant. Can you not trade? But that was what I was kind of thinking. I was like, is it possible for you to be able to trade somebody and at least get something back instead of just dropping one of them? I feel like that's just so much value to drop and put on waivers. I don't know. Richard, Ricardo, let us know if you can have the option to trade one of them, because I think I would prefer to do that. I want to go option C if you can trade somebody and get some value back rather than just like axing somebody and throwing them on waivers. I just those guys are all guys that have gotten drafted and drafted like not in your late rounds either. So I don't know how you just like axe all of them, especially when they're all pretty much performing pretty well. Man, Richard, you have got us all torn up. We don't know what to do over here. That's a very upsetting question. Jorge, talk to me about your injured player who is may have had his dynasty outlook shifted.
I will answer the question in 1 second. He said he can't trade. He has to move JT off IR before he can do anything.
Oh.
God, that sucks. Damn.
Become commissioner next year and change the rules so that this doesn't happen again. That is my advice.
Get rid of this positional maximum crap. Don't do that.
Yeah,
Whatever.
Don't do that.
Hey,
anymore.
You know what? Play how you want to play. Whatever. You know, if your league enjoys this weird, like I'd assume maybe you're starting one running back and you have a max of 3. I don't know, but do what makes you happy.
That's why he's asking us.
Well, I just mean playing with those rules is weird.
I am struggling.
I know.
I'm struggling with both of you right now because every single running back except one does not have to worry about their quarterback vulturing touchdowns at the goal line. Because that's people in the chat. Am I crazy for being so quick to say it's James Cook, drop and then move on? Let us know. I'm very curious to see what you all think. But to answer your question, Stacy, somebody who's taken a hit due to injuries, for me, I want to talk about James Conner. You know, another year, another stretch of games he'll be missing during the season. Yet he always seems to come back and has handled the full workload wherever he's been, whether it's Pittsburgh or Arizona. How much longer is that going to happen? You know, there's only so many times nobody handles the full workload year after year after year, misses time, comes back, handles the full workload year after year after year, and they still remain viable. His last 3 seasons in Pittsburgh, you saw a decrease in number of games started as well as fantasy points scored. Past 3 seasons in Arizona, which it kind of blows my mind that he's been there for 3 seasons. It seems like, yes, last year was his first year in the desert. But we're seeing a decrease in points per game scored. I went on DLF earlier and I checked out in 2 quarterback superflex tight end premium leagues. His trade value right now is a mid second round 24 pick. That I think is way too high, especially now with this injury situation here. He's getting, from how I'm assigning value here, he's becoming like 3rd round viable at this point, just because how much can you keep trusting in this guy in building your dynasty rosters going forward? I'm kind of getting to the point where it's like I'll take a 3rd round and move on.
So back to Malcolm's question. Now we've got Keontae Ingram, Mario DiMercato, and Tony Jones, right? Now, also they signed Tony Jones off the practice squad or somebody's practice squad, right? I think I saw that.
Yep.
Stop
Yeah.
it with the Tony Jones.
Stop trying to make Tony Jones happen. Any one of those guys interest you? Oh.
Sorry. This is random. And I saw it on Twitter or Instagram. Do you know they're filming now a sequel to Mean Girls called Mean Moms?
No, but that's brilliant.
Yes. Just for everybody who totally wanted to know that watching a Dynasty Fantasy Football show, you're welcome.
They're not like regular moms, they're mean moms.
Mean Moms. Exactly.
So do any one of those three names interest you at all, Jorge?
Yeah, for me, it's DiMercato. Keontae Ingram is coming off of missing back-to-back games with a neck injury. That's scary stuff right there. DiMercato on Sunday had 11 touches for 57 yards and a touchdown and 12.2 half PPR points. No other running back was involved in the receiving or rushing game. Boston Scott wasn't coming in there and stealing targets away from DiMercato. And even when Keontae Ingram, who currently is listed as the RB1 on the Arizona Cardinals depth chart here on Wednesday as we're recording, let's look back at his performances, this season. Not great, Bob. I think in week 1 he had like negative 0.8 yards per carry. Or negative 0.8 yards rushing. Not involved at all during his time playing this season in the receiving game. We're seeing some dual threat ability here for DiMercato. Granted, I say this and watch this be like some type of like split this week, especially against like the Rams. Are pretty stingy against running backs for fantasy points. But going forward, I just like the fact that you're seeing more work out of DiMercato, both in the rushing and the receiving game. So I'm gonna roll with him.
Can I ask you a question that I just thought of that's going rogue off the show sheet?
Is it Mean Moms or Mean Girls related?
No, it's not. It's fab related.
Ooh, okay.
How much fab would you blow on DiMercato this week?
So I did do that this week. I had $87 left in fab for the season, and I spent 67 of it.
Okay, so
then I was decimated at running back, so I had no other choice. But look, he's going to be the starting. I think he's going to be the starting running back. Arizona going forward for Connor. While Connor's out, we don't know how long Connor's going to be out past the 4 weeks. And I want an RB1 on my roster now, so yeah, I had to be desperate and got to do what you got to do.
Tyler, how much fab are you blowing on DiMercato?
I did actually $27.
$27, 7%.
I did $27, which is essentially it was about 30% of my budget. So okay. I was in a kind of I wasn't in a bad place with running back, but I was just in a none of these guys are great place with running back. So okay. I'm going to take a shot on something that I never thought I would say in this year, a offense that is pretty intriguing to me in the Arizona Cardinals.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought coming in the season? And by the way, Josh Dobbs no longer has a 0 next to his interception total. He went for not one, but dose interceptions this week. So it is Purdy, Gardner Minshew, Andy Dalton, and our boy CJ Stroud still left with no interceptions. All right, Tyler, tell us about your player.
Oh man, I was going down a Amari DiMercato rabbit hole. Sorry. So
I'm really we might have to circle back to that here in just a second.
I'm actually going back to the well with Anthony Richardson here. I'm concerned. Like I really, really am. A guy that looks like this, that plays like this. I mean, 6'4", 245. Like this dude. If you look at how athletic Cam Newton was coming out of college, out of Auburn in 2011, just take all of Cam Newton's numbers and be like, make them better. And that's Anthony Richardson. Like this dude is an absolute freak show. He's trying to play to his strengths. and his body is not allowing him to.
Yeah.
So it's concerning. He's finished one game as an NFL starter. He's had to come out of all of the rest of them and let Gardner Minshew finish the games. So yeah, I'm concerned. I mean, I don't know if I'm, shipping him off yet, but if someone is trying to trade me Anthony Richardson, this is certainly affecting my opinion on his asset value.
Yeah. Didn't they play the Jaguars week 1, right?
I think they played Jaguars like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, because do you guys remember like the shot of like him and Trevor Lawrence like meeting midfield, and then like Trevor Lawrence telling him to like take care of himself and like watch the hits, like it's like what awful foreshadowing like has happened now.
Yeah. I mean, I think he can fix it.
To get with Tua, get with that jiu-jitsu and learn how to not take some hits, right? Isn't that what Tua did? Was it jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, it was Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. All right, guys. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not. I hope not. It is pouring down rain at my house, so I apologize if there's any weird background noise coming in. All right, so my player is going to be Javonte Williams. For me right now, obviously last year we all know he had major knee surgery with that torn ACL, MCL in his right knee. And then he was held out of week 5. Originally, they said it was a hip flexor, and then it was later changed to a quad injury. So I'm not sure if that means they thought that it was a hip flexor and decided it was quad, or if it was both. I have no idea. I did a pretty extensive deep dive on the internet earlier today to try to get some more information on that. And I really couldn't find a bunch at all. Like which leg it was. Was it the same leg that he was originally injured on? I don't know. If somebody else can find it, you have better internet skills than I do, which honestly is not saying much. But basically, I thought anyway that it seemed like a very fast comeback for him, especially with all those multiple ligaments that were torn, and I don't know if maybe this latest injury is just kind of like an example of maybe, like what do they call it? Like one of those like adjacent injuries when you're trying to come back and you end up hurting yourself like even further because maybe you're not like using your leg the right way that you normally would to kind of compensate. I am not a doctor, obviously. I have a Juris Doctorate, but not a medical doctorate. So that gives you no assistance in the medical field. But I didn't know this until today, but did you guys know that in 2019, he had a pull in his MCL, the same leg?
No.
Yeah. So something to be worried about, and through 4 games, he's averaged 3.6 yards per attempt, which is putting him in the same company with Jaylen Warren and Josh Kelly right now. Compensatory. Thank you, Bob Harris. So right now, I mean, he's kind of in that range, like I said, with a Jaylen Warren and Josh Kelly, that's not the range that you drafted this guy to be in. Right. So for me, just like having, the original injury and then now having this further setback where he's missing games and, all accounts say that he's going to be back out there this week. I hope so. But all these injuries just kind of are giving me the heebie-jeebies, and it's making me not feel so great if I have him on my Dynasty team right now. So I don't know about you guys, but Kane Royce has a question for us. And then we can get wrapped up here because I know we are closing in on an hour. That went by really fast, guys. We had a lot of excellent comments in the chat tonight. Thank you guys for showing up and throwing your questions in. All right, so Kane has his team: Josh Allen, CMC, and Ramondre, AJ Brown, Sun God, Waddle, Mark Andrews, Gabe Dave in the flex. He wants to know, would you trade St. Brown and Ramondre for Justin Jefferson and Kyron Williams? I am guessing that this is Dynasty then, Kane, if you were asking that question, since JJ is on IR right now. I guess you could do it in redraft too, but give us some more details in the chat, please, while we get this all sorted out. Jorge, what do you think?
If I'm getting like Chris Dynasty Deviant is saying in the chat, if I'm getting Justin Jefferson, yes, absolutely, smash accept.
I would do it just for Justin Jefferson.
For JJ?
Kyron Williams is sugar on top.
All right, Kane. So I hope that is. It's a redraft. He's currently 4-1. Who is he going back? There we go. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know in redraft if I would do that. Dynasty, absolutely. Redraft, I would stick with the player who's actually going to be on the field for the immediate future, because you could tell me he's going to be back in 4 weeks, and then maybe it's 6 weeks, and then he's back in time for the fantasy playoffs. how do you know you're going to make the fantasy playoffs if you don't have a stud wide receiver on your roster to go with AJ Brown and Waddle? You know, I would not make that trade in redraft.
Oh,
I'd rather have Justin Jefferson on my IR than Ramondre in my starting lineup putting up 2 points.
I was going to say, I mean, you would have AJ Brown and Waddle and Dave to kind of hold it down until Jefferson comes back. So,
oof, it's taking a chance. I would probably. I mean, let's not downplay Amon-Ra St. Brown here. He's a top 10 receiver. So I'd probably just roll with St. Brown or Ramondre.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at the rest of his receivers. I mean, those guys are Kane. This league is amazing. How did you put together the team? This is pretty solid.
Well, clearly, even though I think this is like the first time Kane has jumped into one of our shows, he clearly has been one of the longtime Fantasy and Frames listeners and readers and subscribers. So thank you for finally coming on the show and admitting that aloud in the group chat here.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. So last but not least, because I don't want to end the show on a bummer since injuries are not something fun to talk about. Real quick, give me somebody who is going to have a great week in week 6. Tyler.
Trey Palmer.
Yeah.
Wide receiver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm ready for it to happen. Rookie out of Nebraska. I almost just got a Charlie horse in my hamstring because I did not stretch properly after the gym. So, ouch.
You were so excited about Trey Palmer. He gave you a Charlie horse.
Yeah.
It's happening in real time. You just literally almost just had a Charlie horse in your hamstring.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That happened in real time.
Tyler's going to have to go on the IR now.
The Bucs are likely going to be without Mike Evans this week. Trey Palmer is already their starting outside receiver opposite of Mike Evans because Chris Godwin is their primary slot guy. And Trey Palmer has not made a big impact on the stat sheet yet this year, but he's just been out there freaking dunking on dudes. He's just making all kinds of acrobatic catches. So I'm excited for him to get an opportunity this week and see what he can do. And I had to include a little IDP for Jorge. Max Crosby, baby. He's going to be matched up against the Darian Lowe, the Patriots right tackle, who has the third lowest PFF pass blocking grade in the NFL right now. Max Crosby might have a 4-sack game.
I am so proud of you right now.
Aww.
I just made my day. Nate, if you're listening, we got another IDP on our hands here. But,
oh my goodness, Jorge, who's your guy for this week?
it's Josh Downs. We saw his breakout game last week with Gardner Minshew. His target share was just 3.8% lower than Michael Pittman's last week. He was first in receiving yards market share for the team, first in receiving yards after the catch, yards after the catch per reception. Throwing in some IDP player or some offense defense here. This week against Jacksonville, he'll be going up against slot cornerback Trey Herndon, who, when targeted, is allowing an NFL passer rating of 147.4 out of 158.3. That's not good. Good for Josh Downs. So give me Josh Downs as long as Gardner Minshew is throwing the ball, which is going to be for the foreseeable future.
Nice. Jorge, do you remember on the mailbag show last week when we all picked Marvin Mims over Josh Downs?
Yep.
Yeah, that was upsetting.
That was something.
That made me sad. All right. So I'm going to take Chris did a little spoiler alert down here in the chat. Mr. Dynasty Deviant with the Dolphins love the greatest show on surf. I think is that what we're calling them now? Is that just consensus? I feel like that's the name. And Mr. Scampers, you were exactly right. Whatever running back is going against the Panthers. So that would be Mr. Raheem, the dream must start. H-Hands on the IR. Wilson's making his way back. This is like teed up for Mostert to completely dominate. Okay, Carolina is near the bottom of the league in against the run. They're giving up, I found on Fantasy Pros, an average of 28 fantasy points and a PPR 2 running backs. So if you have Raheem Mostert, you are starting him 100%. He already has 300 plus rushing yards, 100 plus receiving, 8 touchdowns, tied with CMC for most overall. He's going to have himself a day this week, I think. I think so. All right, guys. Thank you to everybody in the chat who came to hang out with us tonight. Chris says Carolina is definitely going to win that game. Don't say that, Chris. You're just putting bad vibes out. You know your Dolphins are going to win. Guys, again, if you have not already hit subscribe over on our YouTube channel, please do that. Make sure that you are subscribed to us. Make sure you get notices of when all of our shows come out. It is Fantasy and Frames Wednesday, so that means that our guys over at Fourth and Frames are going to be coming up next for you. So make sure to stay right here on this channel to watch them. If you haven't already, you can follow all of us. Here you can follow Tyler at FF Tyler Heil. You can follow Jorge down at Jorge B. Edwards, and I am at Stacy _Perez 83. Have a great night, guys.